It's the next installment of the GOAT discussions. And lately here on Wrestling with Egos, we have been striving to create discord amongst the participants. And certainly tonight's topic is going to cause some discord. So we hope you are ready for that. However you are joining us tonight in Wrestling with Egos, whether it's on YouTube or on all of the many varied platforms that our podcast can be found on, Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Breaker, and the world-famous Intergalactic Radio. We're glad you're making us a part of your wrestling week. My name is Brian. I am joined as ever by the Big Mang, Isaac, and the Mang who is apparently more interested in setting a new high score on billiards, Patrick.
I'm playing Fall Guys, okay?
Okay, well, I mean, the show has started.
I know.
If I could, cut into your.
I was on the last round, and I almost finally actually won a show, but nope, screwed it up at the end as usual.
Sorry about that.
And not your fault. I just suck.
You can follow the show. It's at Wrestling X Egos on Twitter, and our Twitter information will show up on the screen at some point. Gentlemen, before we dive into this topic, which I'm sure is going to be more than a little bit divisive, and we'll see why here in a minute, how goes it, and how is everyone?
Isaac?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Let's go do this. I'm excited for this topic.
I am
That's
excited.
the spirit.
Well, this is going to be fun because I have a feeling that there will be several viewers and listeners to this show that might want to tweet me at Rant Mode On and tell me how much they hate me, how much I suck, and just do the normal bullshit that people on Twitter do when you disparage someone's good name. And yeah, I'm playing that role tonight, boys and girls.
Well, it's the next installment of the world-famous Wrestling with Egos GOAT discussion. Hello. And tonight, the tag team under the microscope of the greatest of all time is none other than the Young Bucks, ladies and gentlemen. And this is going to be an interesting discussion for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the first time in any of these GOAT discussions that I can remember where we've discussed a specifically non-WWE related wrestler. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everybody's had at least a significant run in WWE that we've talked about. With maybe an except, well, Luger was WCW, but this is Brian especially stepping squarely outside of his comfort zone to have a GOAT discussion on the table.
Right, and but as far as, and even though Luger did have a WWE run, this is the first time that we really got that the topic of conversation has little to nothing to do with WWE.
Right. So for the yes, Isaac, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Totally agree. Please continue.
For the uninitiated, the GOAT discussion centers around 6 key categories, which I will run through real quickly for you. We're talking about storyline relevance. Did they figure into prominent angles, or were they just a mid-card performer? We're talking about career longevity. Were they around for a long time or only a short while? We're talking about skills on that microphone. Are they able to talk people into the building with catchphrases and the like, or are they forgettable? Championships won. Did they figure prominently in the championship scene? Overall health, which, Patrick, as you know, I love to say, your best ability.
Best ability is your availability.
Exactly. And then those intangibles. Did they bring that certain special something to their time in the ring, or were they just a wrestler?
I will say one thing. In this discussion, the Young Bucks have an intangible that we have never mentioned on this show before. Foreshadowing alert.
Okay. So I'm just going to sit back and see where this discussion goes, because I'll freely admit I am not as well versed on this topic as I am on any of the other topics because I have not had the ability to sit down and watch a ton of their matches. I know of their angles and all the different promotions they had been in, Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW, etc. And I know a lot of the people that they feuded with over the years are now in AEW with them. I will just pick a topic to start off with. I'll start off with the career longevity. The fact that they've been around as long as they have and doing the things they've been doing for as long as they have is quite remarkable, in my opinion, because they have not been on a major platform until maybe the last 5 to 10 years, I think, in my opinion. So the fact that they have the notoriety that they have, despite not being in a major promotion where you could watch them every week, I think speaks a lot to their determination, to their drive, to their resilience, all of those things. What say you, gentlemen, about career longevity with the Young Bucks?
Career longevity, they check a massive box because, one, they have been, for the most part, injury-free, and for the style of wrestling that they utilize, that is saying a lot. That's like trying to ask the Hardy Boys to stay healthy, and I mean healthy and not sober. There's a difference there, boys and girls. Yeah. And by the way, I'm wearing a beer T-shirt. Anyway, moving right along.
Hashtag product placement.
Product placement. Montucky Cold Snack. Montucky Cold Snacks. You can now find that in the state of Ohio, boys and girls. Shout out to my boss Jason, who, by the way, is a subscriber.
Thank you, sir.
Career longevity, they check that box because they have been around for a while. They really hit the scene in Ring of Honor around 2009, 2010. They joined Bullet Club in 2013, and that's when they really got noticed. Was during their time in New Japan. But then again, anybody associated with Bullet Club got noticed. I mean, good grief. Exactly. But so again, in terms of their career longevity, they have not missed much time. I mean, the time that they've missed just in AEW alone has been a little bit of an injury, a concussion, and COVID.
Right.
That's been about it. They have not missed much time, and so, but the time that they have missed, their comeback was their surprise return or whatever else wasn't some monumental thing like we just saw on Dynamite Wednesday night with the return of CM Punk. Or it's not going to be like it is when we apparently are going to see Kenny Omega in the next couple of weeks, because that's the big rumor. The Young Bucks, when they come back, it's been, oh, cool, they're back. They've only been gone for 3 weeks. Cool. It's not, so when they return, it's not that big of a deal because, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and you guys have been on a little hiatus as opposed to you've been on the shelf. So for me, massive check in terms of career longevity.
Isaac, what say you?
Okay, when it comes to career longevity, yes, it is a massive check. They have done a lot of things. They've been on the scene. They've been doing their thing. They have made a name for themselves outside of the WWE, which is very impressive. And for what Patrick said, for the style of wrestling that they have, I'm very, very surprised that they have not hurt themselves or gotten hurt. I'm not saying that anyone was out to hurt them, but I'm just saying for the style that they wrestle, it's very high prone to injury, especially what they do and how they do it. And trusting themselves, trusting their bodies, trusting the other people they're working with, that's a lot. And for what they haven't been gone long if they do get injured. And he's right on all those points. Massive check when it comes to career longevity to both of them.
Maybe I should phrase it like this. Is there and I do this cautiously. Is there a category? Because as I run down this list, they'll check a lot of these boxes, I feel. But is there a category where you would say no? That's a thumbs down for me, or that's no, dog. And you do Randy Jackson. That's a no for me, dog. Patrick, which one would you ding them on?
They can't cut a promo for shit.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Their promos are god awful. Because they don't do anything in terms of their promos to enhance a match, enhance a rivalry, anything else. What they enhance is themselves. But it's not in a heel sort of way. It's an obnoxious look at me kind of, petulant child way. I don't view them as, there's a difference, and I'm going to invoke this name for the first time tonight. I promise you, I'm going to invoke this name at least 10 times tonight. They are not Shawn Michaels when it comes to their mic ability. Shawn Michaels, very much, look at me, look at me, look at me. But Shawn Michaels furthered everything else along because Shawn Michaels is... There's a reason we're not doing a GOAT conversation on Shawn Michaels, ladies and gentlemen. It's because that's a gold freaking standard, and duh. But when Shawn cuts a promo, you get the who, what, when, where, why, how. You get the I'm supposed to hate this guy or I'm supposed to like this guy. But when Nick and Matt Jackson cut one, Jesus Christ, they're obnoxious.
In preparation for this, I couldn't remember a promo of theirs.
No.
Like, even in all the great rivalries they've had, and believe me, there's been tons.
Right.
The one that is freshest in my head is the one with the Lucha Bros. Because I actually got to watch the blog of that one, that brilliant steel cage match from last November with the thumbtacks on the bottom of the Nikes and all that.
Which they've only done 7,000 or 8,000 times.
Well, it was the first time for me seeing it. So, I mean, it felt fresh to me. But in the run-up to that, they were all very cookie-cutter promos, Yeah. And it's not that they're not intelligent. It's not that they couldn't come up with a great promo, because I read their autobiography, and it was great.
Right.
But those skills just for some reason don't translate to I'm on Dynamite or I'm on Rampage or whatever, and the match is coming up, and we got to talk people into the building and make them buy the pay-per-view. It doesn't translate for me.
The Bucks can pull a gem out of their butts every once in a while. I remember they were working a program in early AEW with Jericho, and it's when Jericho and the Inner Circle beat up their dad. And they talked about, our dads taught us a lot of things about family, about faith, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you just got to whoop somebody's ass, and then they went into a fight. That was great. But, I mean, you're talking about 1 out of 10.
Which isn't going to cut it in a discussion like this.
No, I mean, and, for you to be able to get that check, you've got to at least go 80%. At least. And if you're hitting 80%, that 80% has to be home runs every time. But
Isaac, if I gave you 30 seconds, could you come up with the Bucks catchphrase? Because this is the part that I had trouble with too.
No.
Oh my God. Brian, that is an amazing, amazing question.
Because we talk about this all the time. I mean, all the other people that we've talked about in the GOAT discussion, you say the name and you come up with a catchphrase. In some cases, multiple catchphrases. Chris Jericho, we could name about 20 right off the bat.
But there are a few exceptions to these rules. I give you case in point. Exhibit A, AJ Styles.
He doesn't really have one either, but it's fine because he's articulate and he can cut a promo.
Right, he can cut a promo, but he doesn't have.
And he doesn't have to that often either.
No.
You know, his promos again, you know, when he was getting ready to do the Boneyard match were excellent. You know, because he was going to the bone. But that's the thing about the Bucks is you wonder why. And this won't be the last time I bring this up, too. I think they're more charismatic on Being the Elite than they are on Dynamite. The things they do on Being the Elite are more memorable to me. You know, when I think it might be Matt. You know, he always acts like macho and stuff like that. I think that's hilarious whenever he does that. You know, the way they say, you know, shut up, Brandon, you know, when they treat Brandon Cutler like crap, you know, that's part of the gimmick and all that kind of stuff. That, to me, has more catchphrase-worthy material than anything they say on Wednesday nights. And you'd think it would be the other way around. So...
You would, and honestly and truly, I don't even really think they're that memorable on Being the Elite. I stopped watching Being the Elite because I'm like, okay, this is the same shit every week. You know, the Bucks go shoe shopping. They talk about spending thousands of dollars. One of them calls their wife to apologize in advance. And then cut to the Dark Order, and the Dark Order drops the F-bomb 700 times in less than 30 seconds. And then there's a BTE championship skit, and then you get in
Peter Avalon.
You get Dolph Ziggler's mutant brother and whatever the hell he's doing. Do not get me started on BTE. I think it's trash.
You're right on.
By the way, boys and girls, again, at Rant Mode On.
Oh, we're into it now.
Oh, we done stepped in it. We track it in the house.
I would love to sit here.
Get the 40 Mule Team Borax to clean this up.
Isaac, go ahead.
I would love to sit here and argue with you and say that is complete garbage and that you are so wrong, but I can't. You heard me. You heard, yeah. I'm saying it. You want to come at me? Come at me. But come on now. Anyone that's in these GOAT discussions has something that you were like, you know what? We know that one. We think of a catchphrase. We think of something, but not the Bucks. I mean, no, nothing.
They don't have catchphrases, and their promos aren't memorable. I have never been talked into a building by Nick or Matt Jackson. Talked into a building or talked into watching TV on Wednesdays or Fridays or a pay-per-view. Never been talked into anything by either one of them. They're not Shawn Michaels. They're not Paul Heyman. They do not get it done here in any stretch of the imagination. They may not even be hitting 1 out of 10. They might be hitting a half out of 10.
And you know, I mean, we can't all be great at every single thing. I mean, it's kind of funny because it makes me wonder, like, if I go back in the annals, like, I wonder if they did anything in New Japan. You know, probably not, because there were all these people up ahead of them that were doing the talking, Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega and people like that.
They had Gallows and Anderson to do that for them. They had Devitt to do that for them. But also keep in mind, they didn't cut that many promos because this is New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Nick and Matt Jackson don't speak any language other than English. They are not bilingual like Kenny Omega.
Got it.
So again, the argument well, maybe they cut better promos in Japan. No, they didn't. No, they're massive language barrier. You have a better chance of Shinsuke Nakamura cutting a promo on tonight on SmackDown than you do ever getting a 4-minute promo out of Nick and Matt Jackson in New Japan. By the way, Shinsuke Nakamura, a lot more charismatic.
Oh yeah, that's not even an argument.
You can view that as me taking a shot at the Bucks, and I'm not. Nakamura is just God.
So I think we're all in agreement then about the microphone skills being, you know, and as I'm looking at it, probably the one area that's an obvious X out of all of these, because, and I wonder where this discussion is going to go. Storyline relevance, we have to give them a check on, but part of that is, right now anyway, they happen to be the EVPs of the company they work for, so of course they're going to be relevant in storylines. But even before that happened, you know, they were core members of Bullet Club in New Japan. They wrestled, I know they wrestled Red Dragon in Ring of Honor. I know they wrestled Motor City Machine Guns in Ring of Honor. So all the great tag teams that were in there along with them.
Claudio and Chris Hero, the Briscoes, the Hardys. Dave
was FTR in Ring of Honor too?
No.
Okay.
FTR was NXT, Raw, SmackDown, AEW.
Okay. I didn't know I quite know their backstory.
Dash and Harwood and Wheeler did not meet until NXT.
Okay.
In terms of storyline relevance, and I am going to view my analysis ignoring every minute of AEW because I feel that they have Triple H themselves and they have just put themselves over like a sumbitch. And you will not ever convince me otherwise. I mean, the only thing they ever did selflessly in that promotion is they let Private Party beat them in the first round of the inaugural Tag Team Championship tournament. It's the only thing they did magnanimously in AEW. Everything else has been almost as self-serving as Hulk Hogan. Almost. Not going there, but almost. Anyway, back to the point I was going to make. Massive check for me on storyline relevance because core members of Bullet Club, 7-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, 1-time heavyweight, multiple time, I think 3 or 4-time Ring of Honor. They have always been in something, and they have always had someone really good to feud with. They're always in the middle of something. And if they're not feuding with someone, like there were plenty of times in New Japan, they really weren't feuding with anybody, but they were always in the shit because they were Bullet Club.
Got it.
And then, and then the Elite branched off of Bullet Club, and then you have those storylines that involve like when Ibushi and Kenny and the Bucks formed the Golden Elite. I mean, they were always in the middle of something. So for me, massive check.
I think championships, you just kind of ran off a couple of them.
If you ignore the fact that they are 2-time AEW Tag Team Champions, and I am going to say it, they gave it to themselves. It's a self-appreciation award for them. Not the Jericho Thank you, Isaac. It's the Barry Horowitz. It's the pat yourself on the back, but you're not being a sarcastic asshole like Ciampa does when he's But he's doing that, which is just amazing. They have 8 different times they held championship gold in New Japan. 3 different times, and I just looked. 3 different times they held it in Ring of Honor. There are countless other championships they've held in other independent promotions. DDT Pro, Chikara, PWG. I can keep going, but I'm not, because we're trying to keep the show under an hour. You do not have a right to argue that they do not have a championship pedigree. They do. They've earned it. You know, I'm going to get to a point in this show where this praising that I'm doing of the Bucks is going to get blown to hell. Foreshadowing alert. But at this point, when you're breaking these things down, you can't argue the fact that they do have a championship pedigree. Notice how I said they have a championship pedigree. Foreshadowing alert.
I'm running out of categories here.
No. Trust me. It's coming. I'm about to hit. This show is about to hit a massive speed bump.
Wait for it.
And his name is Patrick. God bless America, Swafford.
I mean,
right?
I'm looking at my scorecard. The only category we haven't talked about yet is intangibles.
You're Christians. There's that intangible I told you that nobody else has had, or some people have. Like the Undertaker is, but you know what? That's not like part of their fabric. But for the Bucks, their faith is very much a part of their fabric. Their intangibles are that they are highly creative. Highly creative. However, they're also highly repetitive. They find shit that works and they beat it to the damn dirt. They are insanely athletic and insanely acrobatic. But they botch more shit than Rob Van Dam did in ECW. They have this amazing moveset. And you can play you can play a drinking game of every time one of the Bucks hits a super kick, take a shot, and you will die during one of their matches from alcohol poisoning.
That's not true.
Push.
Here's my counter to that. Isaac, go ahead. Go ahead, jump in there. I was about to say that's so totally wrong. But hear me out. Bullshit. Hold on.
How am I wrong? How am I wrong, Isaac? Come on.
If you let me talk. Because it's not going to be a drinking game that during the match, you'll get drunk and die in the middle of the match. That's how many times they're doing the super kick that you watch. Not the full match, but half of the match.
That's the point. You're going to die before the match is over.
You got to do something else. That's all I'm saying. We know it's coming. They keep doing it.
Brian?
That same line of thinking is why people get on wrestlers like John Cena and Hulk Hogan, and because they have the same, stuff and do it over and over again and beat it into the ground.
Keep going.
I don't think you can fault them necessarily for that, because I understand the art of wrestling is finding things that work for you and applying your trade off of that. Do I necessarily like that style? Probably not. I mean, I'm more like, if you're making me pick a tag team, I'll pick the Lucha Bros over Young Bucks any day, because Excuse me, because I'm going to see something I've never seen before with the Lucha Bros. Every time I watch Penta and Ray Phoenix, I'm seeing something I've never seen before. What I am going to give the Bucks massive credit for, I struggle to think of another tag team that has bet on themselves so many times in the lead up to getting the notoriety they have now. You know, coming up with the idea, the idea, the germ of an idea for being the Elite. I've never seen anything like it before.
No.
You know, the ability to go to a store like Hot Topic and say, hey, why don't you sell our shirts in Hot Topic? Because I think they're going to be a big thing. Massive merchandising dollars coming in off of that. The fact that they have gotten in with companies like, I know they've done work with Funko. I know they've done work with video game companies and stuff like that. I mean, they're finding all of these different avenues to get their brand out there and grow themselves organically because they didn't have a machine like WWE behind them. For me, that's the biggest intangible for the Bucks. And I guess it goes along with your creativity from before, because there's a lot of different ways to be creative.
I will disagree with you that it goes along with creativity, and here's why. The intangible that you just brought up is business, but it's not the wrestling business. It's their
business.
It is their branding. It is their merchandising. It is their marketing, not their marketability. The Young Bucks found ways to make money hand over fist by being independent wrestlers, not tied to a massive billion-dollar promotion that was run by a pervert. I said it. The Bucks are as creative and as athletic and as repetitive and as obnoxious as they are even more savvy businessmen. Insanely. If you want a blueprint of how to make money as an independent professional wrestler, Nick and Matt Jackson. That right there is their biggest contribution to the business of professional wrestling, and it has nothing to do with professional wrestling. It has everything to do with dollars and cents.
It's their hustle, basically.
Exactly. Paul Heyman makes a shitload of money outside of WWE. Guess what? It's called Heyman Hustle, not Heyman and WWE Hustle or anything else. It's the Heyman Hustle. The Bucks did similar things. So, yes, massive intangible, but to me, does not help their case in a GOAT conversation of greatest tag teams of all time.
Isaac, I'll bring another one up, and I want to get your thoughts on this one, because within their matches, and I suppose the fact that what I'm about to bring up depends on the opponents, then maybe it's not an asset, maybe it's a liability. What do you think? What do you make of their in-ring psychology? What do you make of their ability to tell a story with their match? Because we've talked about the repetitive moveset and stuff like that, and I wonder if sometimes that doesn't get in the way of the storytelling. But I wonder what you think about the in-ring psychology that they employ. Patrick, your turn.
Are you okay?
He's going to wait his turn.
I'm covering my mouth because I'm waiting my turn.
Oh, okay.
Whatever it takes.
I just want to make sure you're okay. I didn't want you to choke or anything.
No, but trust me, I'm like a match in a gas tank right now.
Somebody's waiting. When it comes to matches, I looked to the other team to set the pace. I look to the other team to bring the story along. I don't really see them bringing the story along when it comes to them per se in a match. I look at the other team to set the pace, set the storyline, and bring the match along. I look at that as a liability. I don't look at them as like they're the ones um, that are setting the pace for the match. I look to the other team to do that, whoever the team may be, unless it's a bunch of scrubs. But when it comes to top teams, if I'm talking about FTR, if I'm talking about the Lucha Bros, if I'm talking about a more experienced team, then I look to the other team to set the bar when it comes to that. And I think it's liability against them. Patrick, someone's dying to say something. Please go ahead. Get at me.
Let me start off by saying, Isaac, amazing points. Ladies and gentlemen, Isaac said everything that I wanted to say. Only problem is Isaac said it a hell of a lot nicer. Here we go, boys and girls. The Bucks tell stories that have less content than the hungry little caterpillar. The Bucks do not tell stories. The Bucks are a highlight. The Bucks do not. I have screamed it from the top of the fucking mountain for the last 3 years on this damn show. Make me feel something. I cannot tell you how many times I have sat in the living rooms or other places with Brian or RJ or other friends of mine watching a Young Bucks match, and I've never felt anything. For those of you that are listening on our podcast, not watching on YouTube, that thumping you heard was me pounding at my chest. Just nothing they do gets my blood pumping and gets that drama built up. Their hot tags are just a continuation of their highlight reel. They're very repetitive highlight reel. Hey, guess what? Hot tag, super kick, super kick, super kick. Here's 3 super kicks, more bang for your buck. It's formulaic. And yes, we mentioned it earlier. I think it might have been Isaac just a few minutes ago mentioning Hogan and Cena and those guys and them having those 3, 4. It was Brian. I'm sorry. Thank you, Brian. Those 3, 4, 5, 6 moves of doom that they had in their limited skill set. Yes. And guess what? None of those moves were wasted. When Hogan hulked up, hit the 3 punches, sent your ass to the ropes, big boot, leg drop. Isaac, what happens after the leg drop?
1, 2, 3. It's over.
Unless you're wrestling him.
Right. Oh, yeah, unless you're, yeah. And there's been a few people that have kicked out of the leg drop. But when the Young Bucks hit one of
He beat Andre the Giant with that move.
Yes, he did. When the Young Bucks hit, all right, the Meltzer driver, their finisher, might be one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. In case you guys have never seen a Young Bucks match, one of them gets their opponent up for a tombstone. The other brother springboards off the ropes, flips, and as he's coming down, spike pile driver into that tombstone. When the Undertaker hits the tombstone, unless your name is Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, ball game. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen somebody kicked out of the fucking Meltzer driver. That thing gets kicked out of almost as much time as the attitude adjustment. The Bucks don't tell stories. The Bucks are the equivalent of the NBA slam dunk contest. It's really freaking cool to watch. It don't mean shit. Not once have I ever felt any kind of fire or anything. It's like, I know Brian's watched this show in the past. I don't know about Isaac, but for anybody that's ever watched America's Got Talent, I used to watch the show. I used to thought it was the shit. But every year, there would always be that one dance troupe that would wear the bodysuits and have the neon lights all over themselves. And it was the same shit every year. And I will literally, this is when I'm still married to my daughter's mother. And I would look at her and go, okay, so it's another Ooh, Pretty Colors group. That's all it was, is Ooh, Pretty Colors. It's like watching the fireworks on the 4th of July. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it ever has been. There is they're fun to watch. But in terms of storytelling, Hungry Caterpillar.
So in the final analysis, Isaac, I'll go to you first on this one. The question we always ask at the end of these discussions is the individual or team worthy of being considered one of the GOATs? So I'll ask you first. Are the negatives disqualifying, or do you still, based on all the positives we've talked about, consider them one of the GOATs as far as a tag team goes? Hashtag pregnant pause.
No, wait for it. No, when I think about the Bucks, and I think about any GOAT, a GOAT's got to be able to be able to. I want to sit here and say rock the mic. They have to. When I look at a GOAT, they've got to be able to carry a match on their own. And those are intangibles to me. And those are going up against the Bucks right now. When it comes to tag team titles, I'm not going to sit here and try to argue that. But when I look at stuff like that, I look at people that, they accompany everything of it. And when I think of the Bucks, I don't think that they're there yet. They may eventually get to that point where they can do those things, but right now it's not about them. I don't think they can do it. That's my opinion. You guys can say you're completely wrong. But when you think of a GOAT, you think they gotta have it all. And maybe a GOAT doesn't have one. But when they don't have two or three, no.
Patrick, what say you?
Do they have enough positives to outweigh the negatives to be worthy of discussion of GOAT status? Yes, they do. But here's one more intangible that we've never really looked at on this show. Apples to apples comparisons. So let me run off some names, boys and girls, and I want you to take a deep, hard look at these tag teams I'm about to name versus the Young Bucks. And do the Bucks even deserve to even be in the same sentence as the following? The Dudleys, the Hardys, Blanchard and Anderson, the Road Warriors, the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, who, by the way, is Shawn Michaels. FTR. Hell, the Bucks aren't even the best fucking tag team in their own damn promotion. They book themselves as such. If you watch and read the wrestling Dave Meltzer's newsletters and all of his readers, the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team of all time. Newsflash, they can't even hang with FTR. They can't hang with the Lucha Brothers. Well, actually, they can't hang with the Lucha Brothers. But the FTR wrestles circles around them, blindfolded and drunk. So let me ask you this. all of these teams, let's take FTR out of it because they're current. All of these other tag teams that I've mentioned, you would put every last one of them on the Mount Olympus of tag teams, wouldn't you? They're all gods. Agree or disagree?
Agree. I mean, it's the best I can do on the Bucks for this discussion is give them an incomplete, because all of those teams you mentioned, well, most all of them. I mean, the Dudleys could certainly talk people into the building. I mean, they were inflammatory as all get out.
The Dudleys?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm
might
kidding.
be the greatest tag team in history on the mic.
Yeah.
Bully Ray, in terms of mic work, Bully Ray is a god.
The Rockers, I mean, yes, it was Sean doing most of the heavy lifting on the promo work there, but
Yeah.
Marty Jannetty was no slouch. The Hart Foundation, sure. Road Warriors, yes. All of them check more boxes than the Bucks do.
Right.
The Bucks are, and I'm not saying that the Bucks are bums. They're fantastic, and I give them all the praise in the world for everything they've been able to do. Up to this point, making a name for themselves, as we said earlier, marketing themselves the way they have. Getting legions of people to be their fans and follow them on Twitter and stuff like that. But for me, they come up a little short in some of these areas where you would want it to be more of a slam dunk. Like if we were talking about the Road Warriors, it's a slam dunk across the board, pretty much. Or if we were talking about any of the other teams that you just ran off, the Hardys for the most part, the Dudleys, hell, Edge and Christian,
I put the Bucks over Edge and Christian.
Okay.
I make no bones about that as being the biggest Edge mark on this show. I would put the Bucks over Edge and Christian. Edge by himself is a completely different animal.
Right.
Here's what I will do. Brian, you're going to give him an incomplete, and I'm not saying this to try and one-up you. This is actually something I had planned before we even started the Skype call. I, at this time right now, would like to induct the Young Bucks into Wrestling with Ego's Hall of really, really good alongside Lex Luger. Really, really, really good. But you're not a GOAT. You're 3/4 up the way of Mount Olympus. But you're no god. Gods deserve to be at the peak of Mount Olympus. And no, you're not even sniffing that air. They are a very fun tag team to watch. They don't tell stories. They don't cut promos. Their matches are about as formulaic as a Jon Moxley main event, betting on the fact that whether he will bleed or not. By the way, he's gonna bleed every freaking time. Literally. Texting a buddy of mine from work, another wrestling fan, not my boss, Wednesday night. He texts me, how long until Moxley bleeds? I was like, 5 minutes. Ding! Should have gone to Vegas with that one. Damn, I'm good. No, I haven't been watching wrestling for almost 40 years. I've seen this shit. I know how it goes, boys and girls. But the Bucks are a very exciting tag team. And I will scream it from the rooftops, my hill to die on tonight, boys and girls. They're the second best tag team in the world right now. You can't be in the GOAT discussion. Well, there have been times where they were the best tag team in the world. This year, there's not a question. Well, except for Dave Meltzer's readers, because I guarantee you the 2022 Wrestling Observer Newsletter Tag Team of the Year will be the Young Bucks. The Wrestler of the Year will be Kenny Omega, even though he hasn't wrestled a match yet. The worst Wrestler of the Year, guess who do you think the worst Wrestler of the Year is going to be for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter this year, boys and girls? Brian?
Come back to me.
For the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, not us.
No, come back to me.
Huh?
Come back to me.
Oh, I'll tell you right now. Roman.
Really?
I guarantee you.
He's that petty?
No,
yes.
His readers are that petty. And they are that pro AEW. They are more pro AEW than Reginald Johnson Eisenman. They are more pro AEW than RJ will ever dream of being.
I mean, and we got to remember this one thing that, you know, we talk about the tag teams and we talk about the measuring stick that everybody's got to go up against, the blueprint for a great tag team. The Young Bucks check a lot of boxes, but they pale in comparison to, in my opinion, the greatest tag team and the be-all end-all of all tag teams. And of course, I'm talking about Deuce and Domino.
You mother.
And next time on Wrestling with Egos, we're going to break down the legendary career. No, we're not. Just kidding. We're not going to break down. It'll be a solo Wrestling with Egos where Brian just sits here for 30 minutes and stares at the spider crawling up the wall in the studio and says, gee, I wish I had some friends to talk about Deuce and Domino with.
Yeah, this Wrestling with Egos is brought to you by I Lost All My Friends. The new book by Brian Kriego.
I don't know what happened. They told me to come with a hot take, so I came with a hot take.
What was the name of that one Simon Pegg movie, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People?
I don't remember that one.
I think that was Simon Pegg in it. So, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, Volume 2, starring Brian Kriego. Coming to a theater near you.
Call Fandango to get your tickets now.
Yeah. No, don't go to Fandango. Go to Fandango.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, gotta get that right, boys. Do not get me wrong. I think the Bucks are really good. I'll watch them. There's other teams and other people I'd much rather watch. You know, they're a good ways up the list. They're fine. But if you're asking me, nah, they're not greatest of all time. They're not even close. They're the hall of really, really, really good. And truth be told, when you're looking at anybody active right now that hasn't already freaking hit that godlike status, AJ, Edge, etc., those guys, I can only think of maybe 1 or 2, 3 people that aren't like surefire. Yeah, you get your seat at the table when it's all said and done. In wrestling, period, there's only like 2 or 3 people that I think, like active people that I think are slam dunks that aren't like your, oh, well, yeah, Kenny Omega, duh, Edge, duh, AJ, duh. And two of them are former Shield members that are still in WWE. And I cannot believe I just said that about Roman Reigns.
How the tables have turned.
Second hill I'll die on, best heel in wrestling. Best heel in wrestling. Not even a question. Isaac, final word.
I think that you brought up a lot of things when it comes to, especially when it comes to them, the Hall of really, really good. If they're not in Mount Olympus, and they won't be, and you're right on all the points that you made, and you are right. But you know, when I think of Mount Olympus, you know, and I think of tag teams, yet they're not there yet. They may get there eventually one day, but no, they ain't there. When you start mentioning names, the Hart Foundation, the Road Warriors, Dudleys, they ain't there yet. You can't even say them in the same name as those guys.
I gotta throw another one out there, and I cannot believe I just missed them. Well, the two tag teams that I just missed: Harlem Heat and the freaking Steiners.
Yeah, they're not those.
God.
They're not there.
No.
That's all we can say. And you're right. Those, yeah, we forgot about those for a second. If we forgot somebody, ladies and gentlemen, please let us know. Or that you think automatically going to Mount Olympus that we probably have forgotten at some point in time.
Better yet, if you've got the convincing argument, maybe we missed something on the Bucks. Maybe there's a part of this argument that we completely undersold or completely overlooked. We'd love to know. Reach out to the show at WrestlingXEgos on Twitter. You can email the show, wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com, because if we're wrong, I don't know that we are, but if we're wrong, then we'll admit it, or at least I'll admit it. I don't know about those guys, but
I'll do you one better, boys and girls. If you've got a compelling argument, fire that compelling argument off to us on Twitter at WrestlingXEgos. And if it's compelling enough, maybe fire off your Skype ID as well, and we'll bring you on the show, and you can tell us to our faces how wrong we are. That's my challenge to you guys. Compelling argument? Come on the show and tell, with all due respect to Brian and Isaac, come on this show and tell me why I'm wrong. Brian and Isaac are nice guys. Brian and Isaac will not look you dead in your eyes and go, you're wrong. Sorry, Buttercup. But I will.
I have
my Buttercup.
I'll be more than happy to say it sometimes. It doesn't matter to me. But come on.
You just said sometimes. I'll be more than happy to say it sometimes.
You're going to call them Buttercup.
Wrong, if you're right. If you're wrong, you're dead wrong.
Hey, dog, we talking about Tatum here.
You
know, you'll do it sometimes. I'll do it all the damn time. Ego that ain't Manhattan for life. But seriously, we would love some interaction on this topic because this could be
divisive,
a very inflammatory topic, and I hope it is. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click the bell for all your notifications. Again, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, do all that. You're seeing all the little graphics and stuff, and it all looks cute. If you're listening to us on your podcasting platform of choice, again, like, subscribe, share. Definitely leave us a 5-star review. That would be very helpful. And as always, email the show, WrestlingXEgos. Or we get out. Say what?
The drive for 5. Remember that.
I think we can give up the ghost on the drive for 5. We might be lucky if we can get the drive for 1. You do realize we have been sitting at 48 subscribers on YouTube for the last 3 months.
Consistency.
Yeah, consistency.
A hallmark of Wrestling with Ego.
I know. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, any final thoughts?
If you haven't already watched it, jump on the WWE Network on Peacock and watch the Broken Skull sessions with one Sami Zayn.
Oh, brilliant.
One of the best.
Also, if you have on demand, pull up A&E on demand and check out the biography they just recently did on Lex Luger.
Oh my God.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
When we did that GOAT discussion, was that just me and you, Isaac? Or was Brian?
I think it might have been the two of you, because I don't remember participating in a Lex Luger discussion, because I would have just been clueless.
Well, I do remember one of the things that Isaac and I both were, very critical of Luger about was the whole deal with Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
They ripped it. If you haven't seen it, boys and girls, they ripped that Band-Aid off. It gets uncomfortable when we get to that. And there was a beauty in it. I loved it. As a man of faith, yeah, I'm a man of faith, but I cuss a lot. Sorry. God forgives. Knowing that Luger has turned his life around, I have a whole new respect for the man for the simple fact that he's able to look all of that dead in the eye and go, yep.
That A&E special was gripping, and
God.
I'm going to have to figure out how to watch because I haven't seen any of the episodes. I got to figure out if I've got access to A&E on any of my with the way everything I have is set up. I got to figure out if I have it or not.
That was one of the ones I was waiting for.
Oh,
was
yeah,
Sugar.
me too.
And it did not. Let me just say, it did not disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. I really, it did not disappoint. I was glued to that thing from the moment it came on, just because I wanted to hear it come from Lex, in his opinion, and having one of the greatest physical bodies that has ever graced professional wrestling, and how he kept that up for 30 plus years, however long he was in wrestling.
Right.
But oh my God.
Brian, we'll figure out a way for you to be able to watch it because it's beautifully done. Well, speaking of beautifully done, the music, the beautiful whistling that you may or may not have recognized from a commercial of a certain type of pill from long, long ago. Yeah, this is Bob. Go find those commercials. I dare you. But yes, the whistling of Ginger Snap is going, so that means it's time for us to get the Deuce out of here. So he is at I the fourth. He is at B Kriego15, and this cat is at Rant Mode On. Hit me up, boys and girls. This has been another very inflammatory episode of Wrestling with Egos. We appreciate you guys watching. And discussions like this, you might hate us for it, but it's definitely why we love wrestling. See you next week. Damn it.